The world remembers the blaze of conquest, the clash of steel, and grand pronouncements from marble thrones. It sings of emperors bathed in sunlight and generals who split rivers with their will. But history, that most fickle scribe, often forgets the true architects of power, the quiet, relentless machinery that hums beneath the spectacle. It was not the sword alone that built an empire, nor the crown that kept a kingdom alive. It was the unseen hands, the whispered networks, and the cold calculus of survival that turned dreams into reality. These are the stories of what lies beneath. The royal hall of Byzantium shimmered, a cavern of gold mosaics and incense-laden air. Emperor Theophilos sat at a table, groaning under roasted boar and honeyed figs. He smiled, a practiced curve of the lips for his courtiers. Yet his eyes, sharp as flint, never left the man beside him, Leo, the taster. Leo moved with a calm born of necessity. He dipped his spoon into the lentil stew, blew on it gently, then took a small sip. He waited, a full minute passing in agonizing silence. Only when no tremor disturbed his face did he nod. "It is safe, Your Majesty." The emperor ate. To the court, Leo was a curiosity, a living shield. They saw the honor, the proximity to power. They didn't see the terror in his gut every day, or that just last week. The head cook confessed that a rival noble had tried to slip monkshood into the king's favorite spice blend. The poison was real. The threat was constant. The king's paranoia wasn't madness. It was the only rational response to a world where a single meal could be a death sentence. Survival, in this gilded cage, depended not on courage, but on the quiet man whose life hung in the balance with every bite. Beyond the palace walls, another kind of network thrived, one far more subtle than poison. In monasteries scattered across Europe, monks copied manuscripts with meticulous care. To the world, they were men of God. But within the silent scriptoria, a different devotion existed. Brother Anselm, traveling from Canterbury to Cologne, carried more than sacred texts. His saddlebags held coded letters from nobles, inquiring after troop movements, confessions that revealed political intrigues, and merchant reports on grain prices. He was a node in a continent-spanning web of information, a spy whose weapon was a quill, whose fortress was a robe. Kings paid these men in silver and silence, knowing that knowledge, meticulously gathered and quietly disseminated, was the most potent currency of all. The Church feared heresy, but its greatest power lay not in doctrine, but in data. Far to the east, as night fell upon the great city of Kaifeng, the rigid order of the imperial capital softened, replaced by a luminous dream. This was the floating world, a district woven from silk, scent, and sound. Lanterns bloomed like fireflies, casting a warm glow on cobblestones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The air grew thick with sandalwood incense, roasting barley tea, and the faint sweetness of plum blossoms. The clatter of the marketplace faded, replaced by the delicate pluck of a zither and soft murmurs from behind gauzy screens. Here, pleasure was an art form. In the tea houses, scholars weary from state examinations would shed their burdens. A courtesan, her robes the color of twilight, would serve tea with ritualistic grace. Her mastery was not just of music or verse, but of empathia, quiet understanding that allowed a guest to feel truly seen, not as a title, but as a soul. Deeper within this labyrinth stood the refined brothels, sanctuaries of connection where intimacy unfolded slowly. Conversation flowed over cups of honeyed plum wine. A story shared, a poem recited, a moment of silent companionship watching koi glide through a moonlit pond. For a lonely official or a scholar burdened by doubt, an evening here was not indulgence. but a vital respite, a chance to remember the weightlessness of being human. And hidden behind carved gates, accessible only to the trusted few, lay the secret gardens. Moonlight painted the water white, and the scent of night-blooming jasmine hung heavy in the cool air. Here, masks fell away. Officials confessed their fears. Scholars spoke of doubts no examination would allow. The courtesans, masters of emotional presence, listened without judgment. The floating world revealed its deepest truth. It was not an escape from reality, but a space where the heart could finally rest, where the burdens of the waking world dissolved into peace, while kings dined on guarded tables and empires of pleasure flourished in the east. A young Macedonian king named Alexander stood on the banks of the Granicus River. Before him lay the vast Persian Empire. History remembers the charge, the glint of the phalanx, the dust of victory. But Alexander knew the battle was won long before the first spear was lowered. His true weapon was not courage, but logistics. His army was a moving city. Scouts rode days ahead, mapping wells, counting livestock, and assessing riverbanks. Quartermasters secured supply lines before the main force even arrived. Soldiers carried only essentials: armor, weapons, a cloak, and a kilogram of grain per day. Speed was paramount, and speed required lightness. Feeding the army was a daily crisis averted. Each soldier consumed a kilogram of grain. The cavalry horses needed 10 times that. Alexander solved this not with slow-moving stockpiles, but with constant, organized acquisition. His troops foraged not with random plundering, but with disciplined sweeps across the countryside, gathering food like a well-oiled machine. Crossing rivers was a logistical miracle. At the Tigris, his men swam under cover of darkness, shields strapped to their backs as flotation devices. In India, his engineers lashed reeds and inflated animal skins into rafts to ferry siege engines and grain. He used local guides, turning captured enemies into willing allies with offers of wealth and position. He understood that a coerced guide tells you what you want to hear. A willing one tells you what you need to know. He conquered terrain not by brute force, but by respecting its power. But when the monsoon rains turned Indian roads to rivers of mud, and his exhausted men refused to go further, Alexander faced the ultimate limit of his system. Even the greatest engine of war could not overcome the sheer hostility of nature and the breaking point of the human spirit. His retreat through the Gedrosian desert, where heat and thirst claimed thousands, was a brutal reminder that some boundaries cannot be crossed. In the shadow of the capital, where senators debated laws in polished halls, sprawled Subura, the beating, chaotic heart of Rome. Subura didn't welcome you. It assaulted your senses. The air was a thick soup of wood smoke, fish, stew, sweat, and the ever-present stench of the open gutter. Sound was a constant roar. Smiths hammering metal, vendors hawking olives, children screaming, and the endless argument of 1,000 lives crammed together. Above the narrow streets rose the insulae, towering tenements of cheap brick and timber, leaning precariously. Inside, families lived wall-to-wall in tiny rooms, cooking over dangerous braziers. Fire was a constant spectre, ready to turn a single spark into an inferno. This was the world of the tavern, the brothel, and the thief. Taverns were smoky dens of gossip where news traveled faster than in the Senate. Thieves and gangs ruled the shadows, while the city guard entered only in armed groups, if at all. Yet, beneath the vice and violence, Subura was the engine room of the empire. At dawn, the laborers emerged, porters hauling grain, builders mixing mortar, carpenters shaping wood, and women selling porridge. Their sweat built the monuments, fed the markets, and kept the city moving. They lived in poverty, Yet they formed a community bound by necessity. Neighbors shared food and watched each other's children. When disaster struck, dozens would rush to help, digging out survivors without thought for reward. For all its danger and grime, Subura had a fierce, undeniable soul. It was a place of raw, unfiltered humanity, where languages from across the empire blended in the market chaos. The elite dismissed it as a pit of vice, but if Subura vanished, Rome itself would collapse. Its people, the unseen hands of the empire, were its true foundation. The world is shaped not by the thunder of cannons, but by the quiet turning of gears. By the taster who tastes the poison, the monk who carries the secret letter, the courtesan who offers solace, the quartermaster who counts the grain, and the laborer who hauls the stone. These are the unsung architects, the keepers of the unseen engines that drive the grand narratives of history. They are the proof that behind every moment of glory, there is a deeper, more enduring story of resilience, ingenuity, and a quiet, relentless will to survive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden side of history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories that lie beneath the surface.